Hi guys. So I thought today I would do one about how to tell your friends that you self-harm, or about mental illness in general, because I know from personal experience it can be quite hard to do, and people don't tend to understand it properly. So I thought if I give you some points on how to tell them about it, you might be able to follow them. It might help it come along a bit easier that you go and tell them. Um, the number of ways you can go about doing it. Some of these pointers are from personal experience, but they're also on a website called Rethink Mental Illness, which I'll post the link to in the description if you want to visit the website. And they give help with a lot of stuff. But I just thought I'd verbalise what they're saying and put my personal opinion on it, because I know that can help sometimes. The first thing that this website says to do is to be sensitive to the other person's feelings, because although it's hard for you to tell them what is going on with you and how you feel and how you're getting help for it if you are, it can also be very hard for them to hear it, because if you're someone, well, if it's a friend, then you're someone that they care about, and for them to hear that you're self-harming or you have anxiety or schizophrenia or something, they might blame themselves, and that's where you need to be sensitive to them as well, because if you're expecting them to be sensitive to you, but if you're not sensitive back to them, then it won't go anywhere, and they'll feel like you don't understand them, but you want them to understand you. And I had experience of this, and of being sensitive to a friend, and it helped it massively. We were both sensitive towards each other and how the person was feeling about it all, and it just helped it move along a lot easier, and we both felt more comfortable with it all. The second thing I would say to do is make sure it's done in private, and you allow plenty of time for you to tell them and for them to ask questions and whatever. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you rush it and they don't understand and you don't understand them, and it all goes back to point one of being sensitive. In a private place is best, because if you're doing it if you're doing it like in a crowd, but you just tell the one person, someone will overhear it, and that won't end well. They'll pass it on to someone else and someone else and someone else, and then suddenly loads of people will know who you probably didn't actually want to know in the first place, which is really hard to deal with, and it can actually make things worse for you. And although I'm trying to reduce the discrimination and stigma attached to mental health and everything like that, I still experience it getting out of control and more people finding out, and it's not good. It doesn't help. It actually made everything a hell of a lot worse, and because it was done at school, it made school a really hard place for me to go. So then my anxiety got worse, and school became a really hard place to deal with, and that's not what you want. If you pick a private place and give yourself plenty of time to talk to them, it'll just be a lot easier for you in the long term. The last thing this website mentions, although I'll skip some things out, the very bottom point is be willing and prepared to answer questions. That is probably one of the most important things, because they will have questions, without doubt, because they won't understand it properly. So you have to be able to give answers in a mature way without getting stressed or angry with them, or without assuming that they should just understand straight away. Because if they have a question for you, just answer it, because they'll be asking the question so they can understand you a bit better. And if they understand you, then it's helpful for everyone in the long term. And if you educate them, they can then go and educate a load of other people. It's like if they heard someone talking bad about, let's go with self-harm for this example, because that's what this video is mainly about. if they heard someone talking badly about self-harm, they could then go and go, actually that's not right, it's this or it's that, which is just beneficial for everyone. It stops the stigma and it helps people just understand more. It's usually best to not give graphic descriptions, because graphic descriptions could make the person feel really awkward. And if you're telling them because you want them to understand, they don't need to know every detail about it. They need to know the general overview, or why you self-harm, or what you get anxious about, or at what times your mental illness is worse. Because if you give them graphic details, they could feel like they're constantly on edge with you, and it could also make them blame themselves more, because they know the details of it now. If they know the details, then it's easier for them to know exactly what's going on, which then could make them blame themselves a bit more. I think the final thing that's really important to consider is what I mentioned in my last video, is make sure it's your choice. If it's your choice and the right time for you, it will be a lot easier for you to tell them. They're not being pressured into it, and you don't feel awkward about telling them or uncomfortable, and then it shows to yourself that you've accepted it. So let's go with anxiety for this one. If you have panic attacks and anxiety, and you've told one friend, but they find it hard to keep it to themselves, and they don't need to tell another friend. If they then go, right, I'm going to tell them now, your anxiety could shoot up, and it'll be up here when it would have been down here if you'd chosen when to tell them. So if you tell them, if it's your choice, you've accepted it. Telling friends about a mental illness or self-harm has to be your choice, and has to be done at the right time in the right conditions for you. You can always have someone else present who already knew. It's like when I told one of my friends, I had a friend who had known for ages with me, because it made me feel like I wasn't really telling the person something new, because the person who was with me already knew about it. So it was just reinforcing the fact that I told them, although I was talking to someone who didn't know, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. If you want clarification on that, I will type it and explain it to you a bit more. In comparison to family, friends are fairly easy to tell. More like family know everything about you, especially if it's your direct family. It's like your mum, dad, brothers, sisters. They should know everything about you. But then that means telling them is a lot harder, because it's something that they won't have known about you. But I will do a video on telling family, and I might even do a video on what to do if it does go wrong when telling friends about it, or if you should actually tell them. Because this was requested for me to do, of how to tell them. So I'm assuming the person wants to tell their friends. I'll do a video on how to tell family, and whether you should tell friends and family. So that's how to tell your friends about self-injury or mental illness. If you want me to do any other video to add to my list of many videos that I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks, then just comment below or inbox me. Go to my Twitter and direct message me over that. Link for my Twitter is down here. It's also on my channel, of which the picture is there. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great rest of your day. No, it's all going wrong.